So, this story begins in the wonderful town of Silvery Moon. And so Silvery Moon is a beautiful elven city up in the north.
It is beautiful.
Looks like that. But anyway, the city itself is fairly wealthy, but there is a little bit of the have and the have-nots on one side of the river versus the other side of the river. And the city is bridged by this big glowing translucent moon bridge, and that's kind of what the city's known for. There are rumors that the dragon god Bahamut resides in Silvery Moon and visits with the townspeople from time to time, and is often a place of like great pilgrimage for his paladins and dragonborns and other like to come visit the god as he kind of walks around in mortal form. But your characters picked up some work working for Zach Hotmagic, who, if we remember, runs a animal shelter down in the farmlands below Daggerford. And he was up here picking up a lot of orphaned monsters and whatnot, and is going to be starting a caravan back towards his nature preserve. And so he put out a request for handy people and adventurers and alike to help with his caravan of, you know, missed and lost animals and creatures that need a home. And you guys took up work along with a bunch of other people in his employ. So your first piece of gear here is a employee shirt in the, what does it say? I think it's the Hot Magic Nature Preserve,
Monster
right?
Preserve.
Hot Magic Monster Preserve, right.
The HMP.
The HMP. And as you stand around this caravan that's getting ready to leave, you notice probably about 20 or 30 other people in these wonderful red shirts. Some of them a little grizzled, some of them more fanboys, and you can kind of tell as the ones that are enamored with the legend of Zach Hotmagic kind of follow around as he flies about on his magic carpet inspecting the caravan. And the other ones just kind of, are settling in and seeing what roles they have. And it's really kind of a take-all crew, right? There's a bunch of different people that are been tasked with helping just this big process. And as you look over the caravan, you see that some of the carts have different animals in them. Most notably is a bunch of baby griffins in one cart. One cart is all boarded up. All the windows, everything are boarded up from the outside. And Mr. Hot Magic is rather particular about that cart. He doesn't like a lot of people going near it. Weirdly enough, that cart has the windows boarded up, and then it has 3 boards over what you would think would be portholes down in the middle of the caravan, in the carriage itself, which are kind of odd. There's a couple other carts that are carrying supplies and food, and then other different animals. And most notably, the big prize, or the thing that Zach is paying the most attention to, and why he hired such a bunch of people, is 2 bronze dragon eggs that have yet to hatch. And they are on their own cart. They are extra padded and very well taken care of. But because the necessity to keep them alive, there's some special conditions in which it takes to kind of travel with them. And so he's constantly monitoring their temperature. He's making sure that they're getting everything that they need to kind of stay warm, and he's hoping that he can get them to his preserve before they hatch. But if they do, he's prepared for that. And for most of you guys, including a lot in the caravan, this is kind of the big adventure and the big job. And whether your character came to Silvery Moon looking for work, or had just stopped by, or had lived here their whole life, this in itself was to be kind of a grand adventure. And so the caravan itself pays 5 gold up front, plus whatever loose change you started out with, and an additional 25 gold when you get to the preserve, which for most people that's a ton of money, especially unskilled labor and alike. You're talking about the equivalent of getting paid 15 grand for a couple days, or maybe a week's worth of work. and so it's pretty lucrative, and really it seems kind of odd that it would pay that well, especially when Zach Hot Magic himself, as a wizard, is like part of the caravan. It's like, what's going to mess with this? You've got one of the most renowned, probably in narcissistic and pageanty-full wizards of the era, like leading this caravan. But as you get into like the first and second day, you realize that he's quite aged and not nearly as capable of doing a lot of the labor and stuff for the animals as he probably once was. In fact, it's rare to see him off of his flying carpet, and he just kind of flies around hovering, making sure everybody's doing their jobs. And really, the task at hand seems more like caring for animals on like a circus caravan than anything else, right? It's a lot of making sure that the animals get walked and fed, and get their legs out, and then corralling them back up for what have you. And the journey itself is quite long. We're going from Silvery Moon down to Daggerford, so as you can see here, it's plans to take almost 3 weeks by the cart, because there's not a serious trade way to go. In fact, you have to go through the high forest, and that in itself can be a little perilous. Although the high forest is known for its unicorn run, there are some dangers to that forest itself. And as you get a few days out of town, Zach unbuttons one of these caravans, the one that had everything boarded up. He goes and he unbuttons it, and from out of the side, these tendrils kind of whip out and start feeling about the cart. And Zach begins apologizing to what you see as a roper who was hiding in the caravan the whole time. And the roper has given him the business. About, you would say it would only be 1 or 2 days, and Zach Hot Magic says, well, I had, we couldn't let you out in town, people would have freaked out, and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of the adventurers in the caravan are shocked, right? Now, most of them have not seen a roper. Not a lot of people see ropers and live, but to see one that is sentient and talking and, amicable and friendly with Hot Magic is quite a sight indeed. But she has her own caravan, and she, now that she's allowed out, although she's fairly slow, she usually rides in or on the caravan, and turns out to be quite helpful. Not only is she fairly knowledgeable about what each of the animals needs, you can see that she's made herself a very astute assistant to Zach Hot Magic. And so when one of the griffins starts running away, Tendril will run out and grab it and put it back in his cart, and different things of like. And you really see why Zach and not only brings Mom along, but why this relationship has spurned. Everybody give me an animal handling check.
18.
Whoa.
6.
Nat 20.
Nat 20, beating the 18.
With the plus 0.
So you actually get to befriend Mom quite a bit on this journey. And Mom begins to just kind of teach you the ways, whether Mom takes a liking to you or you take a liking to Mom. It's not entirely sure, but a friendship is definitely formed, and Mom kind of teaches you the ins and outs of taking care of these animals. And all right, here. In doing that, she let's go.
Eric, a pencil.
She kind of gives you what to look for and different things like that. Mm-hmm. I want you to write on your paper alert.
Where?
Anywhere in your notes. So this is going to be a feat that...
Oh, alert.
Yep, alert.
Got it.
This feat will be applied to all characters that you have. And so it's a free feat that you are going to get, and it will go on it.
That's good.
as you're spending more and more time with Mom, everybody else kind of sees that if there was such a thing as a teacher's pet with a roper, you're getting that favoritism. And it's a long journey as you guys make it into the woods. But everybody else starts to kind of see that they have to pick up a little bit of the slack because you're getting the special treatment from Mom. And as you make it to the woods, it becomes more and more apparent that Zach Hot Magic is just kind of getting on in his years. In fact, at different points in time, he's come up to each of you and tried to strike up a conversation, being friendly at most, not just because he's your employer, but it would seem almost that he's just very, very ADHD or scattered, right? And he'd come up and he'd be like, "So, Master Dwarf, what brings you on? I haven't got a chance to meet your name."
Zan.
Well, hold on, I'll be right back. And as soon as he does that, he'll get called away. And for as friendly as he is, he hasn't really made friends with anybody on the caravan. He's kind of constantly trying to keep an eye on the animals with a special attention to the dragon eggs. So much so that he constantly has to be asked where we're going, right? Every time there's a Y in the road, he has to fly up and kind of meander like he doesn't quite remember where he is. And on the 6th day, you guys make it deep into the forest, and you realize that something about this forest is very, very different. And it starts to become more and more apparent to everybody. Give me a perception check. Not you, Meg. Everybody else. You already nailed the check.
5. No.
8.
2 8s.
It's great.
What, you had a flat 8 and you had a flat 8?
No,
I got
5 plus 3.
And I got a 3 plus 5.
You got a 3 plus 5?
Yeah.
All right, so you're technically higher because you have a 5. That's one head. You guys feel like you're wandering around in the same forest, but what's different about day 6, and day 7 is that the sun doesn't seem to be moving in the sky like it used to. Like, it's still getting dark and it's still getting light, but you've lost track of it in the eves. And in fact, the forest has gotten much darker. And again, you guys knew that going through the high forest is usually guarded by unicorns. It's a place of beauty and magic, and there were so much different types of flora and fauna. But now, all that seems to be dead. In fact, most of this wood is dead or dying. There's weird rot and fungus across all the branches. And the forest itself just has a really ominous vibe to it. And when you point this out to Zach Hot Magic, he briefly takes a moment, stops his magic carpet, and he kind of sits and ponders. And it's a mixture of maybe embarrassment or just sunsetting that he's afraid to admit that not only is he lost, but he's really lost. And he looks behind him and he looks forward and he flies down the caravan and he flies back, and he can't remember the last time you guys took a turn off the path. In fact, it may have been a couple of days since you hit a Y, but he's fairly certain that something in here is wrong. But he won't admit it. And so he's like, well, we're just going to continue on. We're going to continue on. And the next couple of days, the days seem to be getting shorter, and the temperature seems to be getting colder, which is odd because you're heading south. So theoretically, it should be getting warmer, and you're not enough time has passed for the sun to be changing in there. Both you guys give me a survival check.
12.
Total. Who's got the higher dice roll? Or no, who's got the higher modifier?
Plus 5.
Plus 3.
Okay.
Weird.
So,
Yeah.
on the 9th day, you come across this weird green herb. And it's very peculiar, but it's kind of like one of those things that once you see it, now you start to see it everywhere. It's growing on a lot of the dead woods and dead logs. And you bring it to Zach Hot Magic, who has never seen it before. And he asks some of the more veteran people on his crew about it. And so he introduces you to Kaylee and her little sister Bailey, Maynard, and Ray Leonard. And Ray Leonard's a bit of a botanist and has been taking care of a lot of the animals, and especially the herbivores, and looks over the plant, and he is befuddled. And so he takes one of the leaves, and he breaks it. And he realizes that the leaf itself has kind of like an aloe vera property to it. It's very jelly on the inside of it. And he begins to chew the leaf, and he realizes that chewing the leaf has kind of a stimulant to it, kind of like a mild cacao, or maybe even like a tobacco leaf. And you spend the rest of the day kind of walking side by side with him and doing stuff. And he starts breaking down as much as he can with it, and he believes that the green leaf has healing properties in it. In fact, you learn what's on that card there. It says
Heal 1d4.
Yeah,
Use
so
an action.
So he says that if you eat it or apply it as a salve, it'll probably heal for somewhat, which might be pretty useful. And he begins to like grind it up and break it down, and he realizes that you can grind it into a powder, and it'll it's a little bit better at healing when it's in powder form.
So it doesn't have to be fresh.
It doesn't have to be fresh. It can be stored. He says that we should be on the lookout for other herbs to mix it with. He says that it wouldn't be uncommon to find different types of herbs that might increase this plant's healing ability. And you are going to get the healer feat. Yes. And he shares with you and gives you a healer's herbalism kit. He says that with that, you should be able to break down if you find any of the other ones, any other herbs to mix with it. You'll be able to break them down with that kit, and it might prove useful later on along the way. And so, with that, you guys break for the night, and it's now the ninth night, and Zach Hot Magic seems to kind of be, I guess, his pride is kind of melted away, and he starts to realize that the caravan is definitely lost. And so he huddles with some of the caravan more senior members, and you overhear him talking that he's going to fly on ahead. And he's telling them to stay on the road, don't veer off the path, and that he'll meet them in whatever the town is, the next town he is, unless he flies back and finds it. But he's going to figure out what's going on and where he's at. And so he leaves. And as you guys break camp for the morning of the 9th and head off into the direction, Zach flies away. And the day goes on and he doesn't come back. Which starts to give the caravan just a very different vibe, right? This level 20 very senior wizard who's paid you all has gone, and rumors start to, go about the caravan group about, is he ever coming back? Did he just abandon us? Did he get lost on purpose? Just, morale just immediately shrinks. And Kaylee, not wanting her little sister to freak out and hear this, is real quick to come by and try and like cheer everybody up and say, he just flew off to figure out where we were. He's just gonna make sure and come back and make sure we're on the right path. And it's kind of a little bit of a rough night as everybody kind of sets in, and the forest and the ominousness of the forest itself seems to be preying on everybody's minds. In fact, these people's minds. Oh, and there's the herb you found. That's what it looks like. So, as you are setting camp for now the night of the 9th, things begin to just get real creepy. For whatever reason, the fire just doesn't seem to be producing as much light. The shadow from the trees just seem to be growing and be much larger than they should be. And the wagons themselves, you guys have circled them. You've pulled off to the road just ever so slightly, in case something else were to come along. But tonight just feels weird. There's just a heaviness to it that you can't quite place. And although you're eating the meal that you've eaten, for the last 8 nights, now it just doesn't seem to taste like it has the same flavor. It just seems kind of bland, and it's colder, and just everything about tonight just starts to feel weird. Give me a perception check. You are going to get the Keen Mind feat. Just put that on there, and you can apply that to any of your characters you make. We'll talk about what that does later. All of a sudden, underneath one of the carts that had the baby griffins and a couple of weird fire salamanders and newts in it, you see these weird green, almost like snake-like appendages kind of come weaving out from between the wheels and kind of come up and start padding at the caravan itself. And as you look at it to kind of investigate, and you're not really seeing if your mind's playing tricks on you or what is happening itself, you start to pat one of the other members of the caravan to see if they see it, and they're mid-conversation, so they're not to be they're just not getting interrupted. And so you turn around and pat the other one, and you're like, "Are you seeing that?" And they're mid their bowl of soup, and you for whatever reason, you seem to be the only one focusing on these arms that are fiddling with the locks and kind of probing into the bars. And the animals that are in the cart that have laid down now begin to start freaking out. And all of a sudden, throughout all of the caravan, every animal in their cages start making just crazy noises. They're freaking out, they're going up, and you stand up to try and get the attention of everybody who's now starting to hear the animals freak out, and this caravan just explodes, just is shattered apart by
Beautiful.
this froggy. Everybody give me a nature check and see if you know what a froggy is. Here's my froggy
I most definitely don't.
16.
16? Yes. So you would specifically know a froghemoth to be a rather aggressive monstrosity that I have around here somewhere.
How could you miss the froghemoth?
I know.
It's huge.
Yeah. Boom. And you know them to be very violent and aggressive and very hunger-driven. And as it just shatters this caravan, and the baby griffins and the salamanders and all these animals just go in different directions, you see them just getting snatched out by these tendrils and put into the mouth of the froghemoth.
Trigger warning?
The caravan begins to erupt, screeching and howling and barking from all these different animals, different party members, scurrying to grab different stuff, right? They're all mid-meal. Nobody has any of their backpacks, everything, their tents are set up. Everything goes crazy. As this cart blows apart, and you see this giant froghemoth who's now probably 20 feet away from you sitting there with basically your tunic, what do you want to do? You can run towards the froghemoth. You can try and run to go grab your gear. You can run to try and save some animals, or you can take off.
I want to run towards the caravan.
Towards the caravan that just so you're in wagons that are circled, right? As they do. One of the caravans just blew up. Give me a direction on a clock.
Where's
let's say
my
12
stuff
o'clock.
located?
You think your stuff's probably at 7 o'clock. 12 o'clock just blew up.
Yeah, I want to run to 7 o'clock.
Okay, give me a dexterity check.
Oh, that one.
So you go running to go grab your gear, frantically trying to help some of these animals, and all of a sudden one of these tendrils just whips around you, and yanks you to the ground. Your feet are caught up by this tendril, and all of a sudden you are dragged back to this froghemoth, and it just... You see one of your fellow red shirts just get eaten alive by this froghemoth.
This is horrifying.
What do you want to do?
Oh my goodness. How far away is it from me?
So, if you guys are sitting around, you're probably at, let's say, 4 o'clock. There's a cart behind you. She was to your right. Stage right. So she was to your left. She ran to where another cart would be, and she got yanked up, literally from across the thing, right? The froghemoth is 30 feet in front of you, and this tendril went out and grabbed her at that 30-foot range.
If it's...
Your options are run towards a froghemoth, run toward a cart that you think might have gear in it, run toward a cart that you think has animals in it, or get out.
I'm going to run toward the froghemoth.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So you go charging in towards the froghemoth. Give me an athletics check. 13. So you see one of the red shirts charge in, trying to scare off this froghemoth. Ah! Jumps over the fire, looks like he's going to do something. Sure enough, this tendril just comes and slams him into a cart. Yanks him up by his thing. And like after eating one person, just puts him in his mouth. What do you want to do?
Oh.
You've now seen 2 of the between 20 and 30 members get it. At this point, people are scattering, right? All different directions. Some are going to carts. Some are just jumping over the carts. One of them took one of the horses, cut it free of the carts, and rode off into the night. Some are going back up the trail the way they came. Some are running off into the other direction. It is just a cluster.
Okay, so it's one froghemoth, right?
And so far, this is
So
one
far.
juicy.
So,
I mean, you hear it's hard to hear if there are more because all of the animals are going. Nuts.
do I know if there's one? There's usually many. Is that like
What was your nature check?
16?
You don't think that them to be pack animals,
Right.
but you don't know anything about this forest.
Sure. Yeah, there could be some just monstrosity that dwells here.
Give me a fear check. Now that 2 of your friends are leaving.
A 5.
So moving towards the monstrosity is out. You are afraid of the froghemoth.
How close am I to the froghemoth right now?
Give me a d12.
An 11.
It's like 11 feet off of your right.
Okay. So I can't move towards it.
You cannot move towards it.
How long are the arms?
Well, you saw them reach out and grab somebody who was like 30 feet away, so at least 30
So
feet.
pretty long.
Yes, the tendrils are really gnarly.
Can I cast a spell?
Yeah, you have one prepped?
I don't know.
Sure, I mean, it's not unreasonable to think that you've been traveling, that you might have 1 or 2 prepped.
Can I attempt to cast Thunderwave?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to do that.
So in your panic, you cast Thunderwave in the direction of the froghemoth.
Yeah.
Which riles this froghemoth up, who just starts slamming carts. Boom, boom, boom. And, all these tendrils coming off of it, throwing things in different directions. You kind of curdling back as this thing is just bashing stuff all around you. Its tendrils are going and slamming and slamming. Give me the damage for Thunderwave.
Well, it has to...
Does it make a save?
A Constitution save.
We'll come back to that. 19, so it probably made it.
Yeah, of course it made it. So yeah, I was gonna take half, and it won't be pushed.
Okay.
So 2d8. 4, 2.
Okay. So, you just saw 2 of their fellow red shirts get eaten alive. Like, huh?
I'm still alive?
Whatever character you are, yeah. Whatever character died, don't worry about that one. Move along. So, you just saw 2 of your favorite people you were traveling with get eaten alive. Running towards the froghemoth looks incredibly dangerous. Give me a fear check.
Nat 20.
Okay.
Woo!
You're not afraid
Yeah.
of the consequences of trying to fight this thing, but you know that you don't have any gear. Like, literally, in your hands are a bowl of half-eaten soup. You can try and save one of the animals. You can try and run off into the night. You can try and run up the path that you came. You can try and run away. What do you want to do? This thing is just murdering red shirts. And as you've noticed, like so many people have started to scatter and panic and just run in different directions.
How close am I to the fire?
You would have been about 5 feet from the big bonfire.
Can I set something on fire, throw it at him, and run?
Yeah.
Oh.
So in fact, there's logs in the fire, and you just run up and you grab one and throw it into the fire and just take off. You take off up the road or into the woods?
Into the woods.
Into the woods. Wonderful. So you run off into the woods, and it's at this point that one of the carts that the Froghemoth overturned had Mom in it.
Yes.
And Mom comes out and begins to try and wrestle with the Froghemoth, but Mom is considerably smaller than this. But her tendrils wrap up the other tendrils, and you see that there is a struggle, and you realize that this is your chance to escape if you are. Do you want to try and grab some gear, or do you want to run into the woods?
I'm gonna grab gear.
Okay. There's a cart behind you, or a cart that...
I don't want to run towards the melee.
Perfect. What specifically are you looking for?
What's in the gear cart?
So you've got a cart that's definitely got food in it for the animals. A lot of people threw their gear in one of the carts that had like all their packs and stuff like that because there wasn't any point in carrying it, right? You had carts, but that one has been like exploded and scattered. You can see it, but you're gonna have to like wrestle through stuff to grab pieces if you want that. The food cart is behind you. It's fairly easy to grab if you want to go that route. And then there's also a couple of the animals that are still in cages, and the cart directly off your right shoulder has those dragon eggs in them.
I'm gonna try to save the dragon eggs.
Okay, you run and you grab, and now each dragon egg is probably twice the size of a basketball. You can carry it with both of your hands.
I'm gonna carry one.
Okay, so you grab one and you take off, and you just run into
the woods.
Into the woods. Wonderful. Okay, so you thunder waved.
Yeah.
And this thing was about to just come at you with all of its force, and Mom's tendrils whipped out and grabbed its tendrils,
Thank goodness
spinning
for
it
Mom.
around, and it and Mom are now fighting, and it doesn't look so good for Mom. What do you want to do?
Oh, Mom. But also, poor me. Are there any animals near where I am?
Yeah, there's a cart with baby griffins in them.
Do I think I can get to it without the Froghemoth noticing?
You can try. We can make a stealth check
You
to see
can
how that
certainly
goes.
try.
Are you going to try and take him, or are you going to try and let him loose?
I want to let him move.
Yes. Okay. So you give me a stealth check.
Okay, I will do that. Come on, come on. 12.
12. So you run over there. Give me an athletics check or an acrobatics check.
Jeez, really? The thing that I'm proficient in, and I still only got a 9.
Ooh. So you go running towards this cart, and at first you're stealthily, and it's evident that whatever free tendrils the Froghemoth has, it's still mad at you for thunder waving.
No!
It is slamming at you, and you are jumping around, bobbing and weaving, and one of them catches your foot, and you slam up into the cart for 2 damage. As it tries to swing at you some more, Mom's tendrils keep catching its tendrils and trying to pull its attention away. You release all of the animal cages that are in your vicinity.
Yeah.
You're going to get a +4 to animal handling.
Woo!
So you just put that into whatever your
Yep.
animal handling score is for saving all these animals.
0.
And then you begin to take off into the woods after saving
Yep.
the animals. So, you run into the woods.
Oh, God.
This is great.
And
Right.
the first thing you notice is that there's movement in your peripheral. Give me a perception check.
7.
7. You're not quite sure what's out there, but it doesn't take very long for it to be known to you what it is. You're jumping over logs, you're realizing that it is really hard to traverse through this wood. It almost is getting thicker as you head in this direction. Like the wood itself is trying to upheave you. And as you trip over one of the logs, trying to catch yourself, on you jumps these wolves. And they just begin to just tear you limb from limb as this scene of just brutal, just gruesomeness as you are now food for the wolves.
I'm over 2.
You are running with the dragon egg.
Mm-hmm.
And you come across this weird scene as you run into an area with 4-dimensional creatures. And you begin to try and process what you're seeing as these pixelated Cubit and Modron and Omnidrons are grabbing bricks of your reality. Literally, you see a 3-dimensional space, and they are grabbing 2-dimensional like pieces of the reality away. It looks just like this, right? They're literally, and your brain starts to melt out your ears. Give me a wisdom save.
18.
18. By the sheer grace, you don't go insane watching these 4-dimensional creatures turn your 3-dimensional space into 2-dimensional bricks and pack them up. And you begin to realize from just some prior knowledge that you have, just some miracle of whatever deities that you worship, that these creatures are breaking down this reality. Wherever you are, they're packing it up. And you literally, with this giant dragon egg, just kind of turn around and start running in a different direction. As these Modrons don't seem to pay much attention to you, they literally just grab things. And as you look back, you see this wolf start coming through the forest, and this Modron just grabs a 1 foot by 1 foot cube out of it. And the wolf just stops moving as it's been halved by this piece. And you just don't even know what to process it. So you just run and hope to find something that's not this. You take off into the woods, and as you're running into the woods, you see these humanoid figures, and you yell out to them for help, and they make a very familiar gargling zombie sound. And you're like, can this night get any worse?
I don't think so.
And as they start to make it into your line of sight, you see that they are zombies. But luckily, you know enough about them to where you can kind of bob and weave and get out of the way, and you jump out and make it towards the woods, or to the road. As you get to the road, you see a couple other red shirts who have also made it to the road with you. One of them holding one of the dragon eggs. And from off in the distance, you hear a shouting, "Hurry up! This way! Come this way!" And you guys take off down the road. And as you are making it into the road, you start seeing zombies come out from the forest in all directions. And you are running and running, and you're beginning to gasp, especially you, because you're just carrying this dragon egg. I needed a purpose. I got a purpose. Take this dragon egg. And you make it to this wrought iron manor that seems to be on a couple of acres. And it's this big stone wall that is maybe 2 feet high with giant wrought iron bars with a little gnarly spikes at the top of them that they used to do. They're kind of made into flowery arrows, but it's definitely a decent fortification. And butt up against this fence on the opposite side is a building that looks like a servant's quarters that has a second story to it. And in the window, you see one of the red shirts that you're very familiar with, Leonard, with his hand out saying, "Come here, quick, I'll lift you in." And you all run up to this little cabin on the other side of this fence. And they start pulling you into this as the zombies begin to flood the area. The zombies can't seem to climb, and they literally butt up against the fence. As they pull the last of you in, zombies begin to try and work their way around this fence. And you see them making it towards a main gate, and just out of the corner of your eye, they start slamming up the gate, and the gate has a little bit of wiggle to it, but you think that it's been chained shut, and you might be somewhat safe as you make it towards this manor. And so as you get into this building and then look out the windows, you kind of bar the door to make sure that you're safe in here. You look out the window of this servants' quarters, and you see 2 other buildings, one large manor and a stable. And as you look around, you see that in here is Kaylee and Bailey. Maynard, who seems to have been injured. It looks like he was bit by a wolf pretty bad. His arm's all tore up, and Kaylee is kind of bandaging him together. And Ray Leonard, who's looking out that window that you all crawled through, and trying to get as many people in here as he can. And he's yelling out there, and a couple other red shirts get pulled in, and you guys begin to catch your breath as you hang out in this safe room. And so, as you have made it into here with a couple of pieces of gear, Kaylee is starting to take a breath as she's trying to put together just the calamity of what happened. And she looks around and goes, well, who's left? So, you got 3 characters. Yeah, go ahead.
I have 3 characters.
Yeah. None of the characters you've made have died.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, all that work, did you just die instantaneously?
My name's Xander. I'm
Hi, Xander.
a druid. I'm a very stout, very tall dwarf druid. And I have this new healing potion powder salve thing. Can I go apply it to the injured party member?
Yeah, so you apply that to Maynard. If you remember here, let's go back to the NPCs.
Is Maynard this guy?
Maynard's the gentleman in the middle,
Okay.
and his arm is tore up from this wolf. Ray Leonard is the guy who helped you through the window. And it would seem that Kaylee and her little sister Bailey has some sense of medicine, and she's done a fairly decent job of patching him up as best she can, but his arm is just shattered and really, really broken. Who else were they managed to save?
All 3 characters?
Yeah.
Oh. There's also Zephyr, the Dragonborn fighter. And Xenos, a crazy wild mage
Okay.
that doesn't look like he could be trusted. Could just be the bedhead.
Couldn't be any worse. And who else did we manage to get in here?
Oh, the one character that's here for me. Do you want this in first person or third person?
Doesn't matter. Whatever's more comfortable for you.
Doesn't matter to me.
4th person.
Okay.
I mean, we've already
Is
met
that-
some 4-dimensional
how is it-
creatures.
You one character describes the other character.
Oh,
in
is that
first
what it
person.
is? Oh, okay, got it. Perfect. Awesome. So I'm going to do a deep bow and introduce myself as Elsa Darling.
Catching her breath, she manages to bow and pirouette.
Just a bow, not a pirouette. I mean, I'm a performer after all.
Sure.
I had to change it. I'm a half elf.
Okay.
But I'm on the petite side for a half elf, which is kind of unusual. I am a bard, and I'm from the College of Swords.
Oh.
So sword dancing swallowing is my game.
All
Of course, I don't have a sword with me now because I left all my shit back at the caravan. But imagine I have one.
Would a dragon egg
Oh, you just have the one?
I just have
Oh,
one because
sorry.
I'm a slacker.
Okay, and so my first one would be Lodi, a very vertically challenged kobold artificer.
Okay.
And Bo Belafonte is a monk,
That's
human,
Okay.
fighter. And then Glarg the Brave is a hobgoblin fighter.
Yes.
An urban bounty hunter.
Woo!
Okay.
I love that.
So Ray Leonard still got his head and upper torso out the window, and he says, well, you guys can should rest here and see if we can figure out, where we are or what to do. I'll get any other survivors I can up through the window. It seems to be pretty safe here. The zombies don't seem to be making their way through the gate, but a couple of you should check the other buildings and see, if there's anybody out there that can help us or what's going on. And as you get that, everybody give me a perception check.
13.
13.
11.
Who's got the higher 13?
Plus 3.
I was just a 13.
Oh, yours is a 10 plus 3?
Yes.
And yours is a flat 13?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in the servants' quarters, there's not much in here other than the bed and like a chamber pot. You notice couple of canned goods and some bread. Give me a survival check.
14.
14. You bag up as much of that food and stuff as you can, and you are able to make 4 rations. Hand me a pencil. Thank you. So, you find a first aid kit, which you think will be very helpful, especially after watching the monsters in this area tear somebody apart. But the rest of the stuff in here doesn't seem to be particularly useful at all, with the exception of maybe this shovel.
Did we see any bags?
You don't
Backpack?
see any.
Right? Do we have to carry this stuff around if we don't have bags with us?
As of right now, you don't see any bags. But upon mentioning it, Kaylee says that she did have one that she was able to grab from the caravan as it was leaving. But she wasn't able to put anything in it. Since she's going to be staying here trying to mend up Maynard, she doesn't have any use for it.
So many of yours?
Sure. Thank you. I was just gonna shove it in my corset, but that works too. In my tunic.
Right?
Wow, that was a wild ride, right, guys? Man.
Anybody need an omelet after that?
So what do you want to do with this big egg?
That's a good question.
You can leave it in here with the rest of the party members that are in here. I mean, they also see that you saved it, and they would have had, would have a similar, care to try and keep it safe.
I would think so. This is if they're planning on staying, since they have an injured party member.
Yeah.
I would probably.
And a shovel, if you guys want.
What's a shovel?
Wait.
I would probably give it to them for their care, just because I knew it held importance to hot magic.
So as you guys plan out, you decide that only 3 people are probably going to go and search the rest of the grounds, and then the rest will stay here. And if you need them, you can kind of cycle out or see if any other heroes happen to show up.
Just the one.
Going forward, and find out.
Question
Yes.
about the room that we're in. Can I see that again? Are there linens on the bed?
Yeah.
Could I mayhaps tear one up and make a sort of little pouch to tuck in my waistband?
Yeah, I'll let you do that. Yeah, do that.
I was actually thinking of like one of those like sticks of cartoon like
totally.
good guys, you know?
Run away from home.
It's like, eh.
So, I like it. I'm going to give you inspiration,
All right, take note, guys. First and only time.
but I'm only going to give you a 4-slot backpack.
That's fine. Oh, I was only expecting like a 2 slot, so I'll take 4. 4 is amazing.
Give us your first aid kit.
Sure. So you can have more space. Thank you. Thanks for carrying it for me for a few minutes.
So, while we're here, let's make sure everybody's AC and everything is correct. Because again, you're in traveling clothes, you're in like regular clothes plus your tunic. So your AC is going to be your dex modifier plus 1.
Yep.
So if you were using the app may have given you like gear, like a chainmail or a weapon or anything like that. And as of right now, you just haven't found any. So. Yeah, any other ideas about this room? So this room happens to be 2 stories. There's like a loft up top, which is what you guys crawled in the window of the loft. and then there's a ladder down here. There's a bedroom over here where they're taking care of Maynard, and then just kind of this area. It's not there's not too much, but
So I'm sorry, were you gonna say something?
No.
Okay. Is what we're actually looking at there, or is it like less? It's more sparse than this.
I'll give it to you if you got an idea.
Oh, I'm just wondering about like because we don't have any like weapons or anything at
That's
all,
right.
right? But
Yeah.
there's like
I mean, maybe a shovel.
there's like some silverware that maybe we could use.
Yeah, you don't think that it'd be enough to fashion a knife. It's like fork and stuff. And,
No knife, no butter
no,
knife.
No knife of,
Okay.
of combat value.
Oh, is that a rug on the floor?
It is a rug on the
Can I
floor.
look under the rug?
Yeah.
You guys pipe in at any time. I'm just talking.
You look under the rug, and you see a very strange little key with a club on it.
Guys, I found a key.
With a club on it. There's like a chest we could try opening. In the top left.
Yeah, so you open up the chest, and then you see a set of clothes, not nicer than what you're wearing.
Oh, are they nice?
The
Do we think?
clothes are out of style by a bit. Definitely drab. Everything's like either grays or browns.
Oh, not my color.
Definitely not.
Did we have to use the key to open up the chest?
No.
So the clothes are not nicer, but we don't feel like they wouldn't add anything as far as like warmth or anything like that.
Not really.
Okay.
Um,
They're probably moth-eaten anyway.
yeah, they're pretty rough.
Do they look like they've been worn recently?
No.
Okay.
In fact, as you look about the place, you don't think anybody's been in here for at least a year, maybe more.
Dusty,
Right.
cobwebby. Okay, what else
Now,
do we do?
Xander, did you tell them what you saw in the forest?
Yes. Guys, there were things that were taking
What sorts of
the
things?
world away.
Mm.
Is there a different way you could describe this? I'm not quite picturing.
No, what? I don't know. Persuasion? Can I try to persuade them not to go crazy?
Yeah. So you don't have to persuade them not to go crazy because you're not descriptive enough to like blow their mind.
Okay.
But with an 18 perception or persuasion, you relay fairly well what you saw in a way that they don't understand, right? You're like, look, these metal cube people were grabbing reality. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Did you smoke some of
They're-
that medicine?
They're like, I believe you, I don't understand you. And so, I mean, you're very persuasive,
okay.
but it would be like trying to, explain, space travel to a caveman. It's just like, you don't quite have the words to put together what you saw.
Got it.
Especially since they were four-dimensional creatures, so they moved. I mean, the whole thing's funky, right? If you were a two-dimensional creature and you saw a ball, all it would be a circle that grows and shrinks, right? Because you wouldn't be able to see the third dimension in which that it moved around. So in your dimension, it would just be that way. So then, as four-dimensional creatures, you only see the three-dimensional parts of them, but they move in a way you don't understand because that fourth dimension is to you perceived as three-dimensional movement. And so like the whole time you're just like,
Got it.
but you didn't just pass out. So you held it together enough to know that aside from the other perils of this universe, something is just deconstructing this realm. And you're able to realize that you think you're in some sort of pocket dimension or some sort of dimension. You're not in the Faerun where you were because that shouldn't happen. And your limited understanding of druidic magic and everything else, and just because you nailed your rolls, you think that wherever you are now is either a heaven or a hell or some other dimension, and those things are breaking it apart. And your logical chain of thought is like, we may not be able to hide here forever if these things are packing up this universe.
Got it.
And so that's what he tries to convey to you. And as much as it sounds insane, you also are like, okay, well, we'll add that to the list of dangers. We also have wolves and we have zombies, and we're stuck in this like basically this manor. Okay. Do you tell them what? Yeah. So you convey the wolves. She conveys the zombies. He conveys the end of the realm.
You guys are like, duh, about the zombies. They're right outside.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Way to bring something interesting to the table.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you want to do?
Let's keep looking. Anybody else?
Other than the zombies, all the other dangers, how far out were they? Like, how far did we run from
So the wolves didn't seem to follow you to the road, right? It was the zombies that were coming out of the woods as you were running through the road. And it's the zombie threat that seems to be outside, in different scattered. It's not like a giant Walking Dead horde, but there are enough zombies outside that you don't think it's safe to travel, especially with somebody who's waylaid and their arms all jacked up. In fact, as you are putting that together, you're looking over at Maynard, and he's the one who tells you. He says, like, I think one of those buildings is a stable. If there's a horse and carriage in there, that might be our best way out of here. I don't think we can leave on foot.
Horse and carriage. Have you seen this place?
So this room is kind of rough, but it's definitely a stables. Like, one as you peek out the window, it's definitely a manor and it's definitely a stable, and so it's worth giving it a check.
Before we go, can I ask any of the other people in the room if they are aware of any stories about cube people dismantling?
Oh, he's really stuck with this.
And I'll give you inspiration for like your character trying to wrap his head around what he saw.
I'm just trying to get more information. Maybe we don't all come from the same background.
Maynard and Ray Leonard are like, I've never heard anything about this, but Kaylee seems to have spent some time as a cleric. She doesn't know anything about it. But she does, in her tellings, tell you of different heavens and different hells, and just that there are many strange things in the world that you should be wary of. All of that is like in one ear and out the other. But what you do pick up on is that she does have 2 cure wounds spells per day she can use, and you go, oh, okay, well, yeah, thanks for the chat.
Cool. Off to check out the stables?
Wait,
we need weapon, maybe?
can we look in this room some more?
Can you check? Yeah,
Sure.
Any ideas you can think of to?
I
The
understand.
frying pan.
Yeah, you want a frying pan?
Yeah.
Take it.
I think I got a frying pan.
Bludgeoning.
Yes.
Good thinking.
I can see in the dark. Can you guys see in the dark?
Can half elves see in the dark? I've never played one.
It's right here on if you have this page.
I can.
I actually have disadvantage in the sunlight, so that's a
Oh.
Oh.
Well, this place will probably be perfect for you then, as far as that.
Yeah.
Are you from? So you're a kobold. Where are you from? I didn't know if you were
You
from.
ask great questions.
It's okay if you don't know.
I do
Somewhere on the
not
sword
know.
coast.
I was gonna say, well, because
Something my character
kobolds
would know.
do live in Chold, right?
Some do. Yeah.
Because I'm from Chold, even though I don't exactly look like it.
I'm from the hills.
Because you're a hill dwarf.
That's right.
Which hill? I don't know. One of them.
One of them.
Under them.
Under the
All right. Let's give you a frying pan. I feel like I've made a placeholder card for a frying pan before,
I
but
feel like you must have too, because I feel like we did some cooking in one of the other campaigns.
I have like cooking kits,
No, but
but this is specifically a great idea.
I feel like that would have been something that one of my characters would have wielded at one point.
Yep. Oh my goodness.
Way to ruin the mood.
Right. Yeah, so the frying pan, if you equip it, will do 1d4 bludgeoning, which a lot of the stuff in here, like the shovel, it's an improvised weapon, so you get 1d4 plus your strength or your dex, depending on it.
Can I check under? Did you already look under the bed?
No.
Can I look under the bed? Is there anything?
Yes, there's some dusty shoes, nothing in particular. under
Not
the
better
bed.
than what we have.
No, definitely not.
Oh, what about the baskets in the corners?
Most of them look like they've been empty quite some
The
time.
wardrobe?
Nothing of value in any of those.
Let's see, what else can we do?
You probably... So one of those old lights is probably a lantern if you want it.
Not a candle? I mean, I'd take a candle too.
Would you rather a candle?
No, but I'm just saying, if you decided it was a candle, that's still...
I'm pretty sure I heard him say that it was a lantern, not a candle.
It's whatever this man deems it is. Do any of these floorboards look like they can be pried up?
Well, there's a bunch of
Yeah,
wood
there's like
next to the fire.
firewood.
No, I just mean to look under the floor.
Oh,
but if he says
right.
that, then no. There's nothing under there. Then you're looking too hard.
Are you looking for a
Are there
weapon?
any S's in this room?
Any what?
S's?
No.
We're looking for a trapdoor. Is there one here?
It does not appear to be. Yeah, so you take one of the candles and fashion a lantern out of it if anybody wants it. Anybody without dark vision? Probably.
The wood that's stacked up for firewood, did anyone look like I could wield one temporarily?
Not any better than that shovel.
Oh, right.
If you have a few hours, you can sharpen the knife with the rocks on the ground.
Who has the shovel? Okay, got it. Just making sure we grabbed it. Why,
We
you?
heard you.
No wallpaper on the walls I can peel off.
No, you guys have pretty much picked this thing clean.
I'm gonna do some light stretching while I'm waiting.
Smart.
Calisthenics.
Well, I do have some contortionists in there.
Yeah, you do notice, I mean, there's piles of cut wood.
I just looked at that wood. What time of day is it?
You think it's into the evening.
Did you want me to keep track of time, or?
We will when we...
Okay.
For next session. We don't need to for this session.
Okay. Sounds good.
To the stable?
Wait. Hold on. Please hold. 1 second. Because I took 2 damage.
Yes, you did.
Still need a thing for that?
I have cure wounds and we have some herbs.
I have cure wounds too.
I have this herb stuff that I gave, but do I have one more use of it? Or should I give it up?
It's one per. But give me a nature check. Everybody can give me a nature check.
How long is a short rest?
8.
About an hour.
An hour. Do we have an hour?
As long as you need.
Oh my god, I rolled
22.
22. So you notice that there is a pot in the corner that has 2 green herbs growing in the pot. You know that they're here. You can leave them here if you want to. You can take one or you can take both. You don't need to.
I'll take one.
Okay.
Does anybody want to give me an hour so I can play myself a song?
Yeah, if you want to use your hit dice now, you can.
Can I play a song because I'm a bard?
Yeah, absolutely. But we can say that you've been doing that while everybody was tearing the room apart.
Okay. But I have to use hit die for that?
I don't know. Tell me.
Well, just his Song of Rest.
Yeah, I think a Song of Rest increases your hit die.
Let me look. It's on page 54. Oh, spending 1 or more hit dice, each of those creatures regains an extra 1d6 hit points. Okay, I'll do it. And then anybody else who needs it can. And you guys are fine, but.
Wouldn't it be funny if healing word affect, since it's vocal, it doesn't affect who you want it to, but rather everybody rolls a perception, and then whoever gets first gets it.
It can't be a perception, but yeah, I think that's something else. Maybe perception. The first person for the person who hears it the best.
Uh-huh.
I like that. I might be how we have to play that. I like neutering human word. It's super broken.
Okay.
Okay. So, as you guys leave the manor, you look out and the gate itself seems to be holding. So much so that there are a few zombies that have got their arm through it, but have almost stuck themselves, right? Got to the shoulder, but now are locked up in the bars and can't seem to brace themselves from it. And the general sound of zombies wailing is beginning to be drowned out as it starts to rain, and the rain starts to become very thick. And although you're in this kind of grassy, probably once was dirt but has since overgrown quite a bit, everybody give me a perception as you step outside the building.
Perception's better than a 1. Oh, good. A 3.
22.
22. So as soon as you walk outside the building, you look to your right and you see a log with a hand axe for cutting wood, and where the piles of wood have been split.
Do you guys?
You can keep it.
Okay.
I technically have spells.
Okay.
I do as well.
Cool.
And you got a shovel.
I do.
And again, the rain begins to fall pretty heavy, and it drowns out the sounds of the zombies,
I'm not
which
a fan of
you
rain.
think is almost somewhat to your advantage, because it probably means that the zombies will stop hearing you and maybe give up, the chase. And as you walk around to the main gate of this thing to just kind of check it and make sure, as the zombies kind of reach out at you, you see that it's locked from your side by a rather large turn bolt, and the gate seems really sturdy. So, I mean, when you're ready to unlock it, you can, but you think that this gate will probably hold, at least for plenty of the time. The 1 and 2 zombies that are banging against the gate are not going to do anything to this. And with your 22 perception, you also notice that there are cartwheels that are in the muck of this, that the rain is starting to make soft in the ground. And they look a lot fresher than the clothes that you saw. And sure enough, they lead back to this horse stable.
Guys, you see that?
Yeah.
Wheel tracks.
Let's
Stable.
follow them.
All right.
Yeah, so you go up to the stables, and the stable seems to be fairly well maintained. Better than the house and better than the servants' quarters that you just came from. And the doors to it are these heavy oak timbers that are currently closed. The rest of the building is made of stone and brick. And just through the gaps of this stone door, you see flickering light. And as you put your eye to this, give me a perception check.
20.
You think you see movement. And you put your ear to the crack of the door, and it almost sounds like there's a woman singing something. Hard to hear, especially with the rain coming down here, but you just barely make it out. And as you kind of switch between your ear against the door and then your eye in the crack, if you can't see her, maybe you see her shadow moving, and the overwhelming presence of horse manure that you can smell from the crack of the door. So you bang on the door, and you're like, hello, I see somebody, anybody, we need help. No reply. You kind of feel the door, and the door is, probably these 8-inch timbers. And you're like, oh shit. And you kind of push on it, and you realize that it is barred from the other side of this building. And you look around to your party, and you're like, what do you want to do? You saw him banging on the door to that, so you can infer that you might have seen somebody in there.
Can I walk around the exterior or the perimeter
Yes.
to see if there's any windows or any better vantage?
So there are a couple up in the top of the apex, right, from maybe where they would bale hay and bring it in, but they're boarded shut and look really heavily. And there's not a really good amount of texturing to the building with which you think to climb. As you are walking around the perimeter, it butts up to the fence on one side, And one thing that catches your eye is that there is kind of like a stone, like brickwork connecting the house and the big manor and the stables, and it's almost as if somebody like dug a big ditch in between the two and then like stoned it over and then like covered it with dirt, and now the rain is maybe starting to wash some of that away, and you're starting to see a little bit of the stonework of maybe what you think would be a tunnel between the two buildings.
If you, any of you guys followed me, I pointed that out, and if you didn't, then...
Especially as a dwarf, like you're going down there, like it's the rain's making it muddy, and you put your hands to it, and you feel like the stonework, and you're like, if I was going to bury a tunnel, this is probably like the roof of that tunnel.
Okay. But other than that, nothing, no other information, no way to get inside, or...
You don't, not that you see.
Okay.
It would not be a good horse stable with no other ventilation.
You wouldn't know that?
I mean, with a +4 to animal handling, she might.
It's true.
Yeah.
Come on.
She might be like, this is not the best use for this. Yeah, you think that it would, I mean, at one point it probably was with all these things open, but right now everything's boarded up.
Do I recognize the song that the lady is singing?
No, good question though.
Did I hear the song?
No, but you can, if you...
I'm going to point it
Oh,
out.
no. Okay, I want to hear.
Yeah,
Do
so
I, as a bard,
give
recognize
me a
the
perception
song?
check to see how well
Oh,
you
good.
can
I've been
hear
doing
it.
so well with perception checks.
It's right in front of you.
Oh, thanks.
She didn't
Just
see
right
it.
on the one where I
She
left
failed
it.
her perception of the
I
dice.
did. I got a 1 in real life. 18.
Yes. It is a old lullaby. And you only recognize it because at one point you saw a music box that played it. And it is a very, very dark lullaby involving a widow who lost her, like the song was basically about a woman who cheats on her husband, and then her husband kills the person she was cheating on with. They kill each other in a duel, and so she loses both. And you're like, oh,
It was so
dark.
melancholic.
Yeah.
I would like to tell the story to them.
And you too, like, you bang on, you can hear her singing. And like, as you bang on the door, you're like, hey, we need help, blah, blah, blah. The humming stops and you hear a door close.
I want to sing with her.
No more flickering light? Does the light still
The
on?
light's still on in there. So you,
Shadow? Shadow doesn't appear,
Yeah.
I assume?
And did it look like she was singing it to herself or to
humming,
something?
yeah.
Oh, okay. And the best way you saw in was like a tunnel.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
like, it's not really a tunnel, but like you can see some weird stonework connecting these two buildings, and he inferred that there's probably a tunnel that connects the two. Right? It's just like there's a path that goes to the house, and then there's just some weird cobblestone that's under the mud over there that the rain is starting to wash away, and he inferred that it's probably, some sort of path between the two buildings.
The doors, I assume there are like two doors,
Mhm.
and then I can assume that there's a timber.
Yep, exactly.
The gap in between, can either the axe or the shovel get in between that?
Not really. I mean, you were talking about, just barely enough to make out movement and light.
How tall is the table?
So it, again, at its apex, there's probably another similar type of loft thing, but I would say that the whole building itself is maybe 15, 18 feet tall at its highest point.
So what is it at the lowest point?
Probably 11 feet. Big enough to have like horses in it.
Anybody want to try and climb up on the roof? Somebody wants to give me a nudge.
Dwarves are great for short distances.
That's true. Everybody's pretty short. Everybody's pretty short, huh?
That'd be a long way.
I
for
forget.
Me.
You're how tall are you?
3'8".
Yeah, and you're
Oh,
3'6".
wow, you're really small for a
Okay,
group.
so we got
4'8",
two less than
4'8".
4 feet and barely a 5 foot. Yeah, that's not gonna happen,
We could throw each other up there.
right? Who wants to throw a dwarf?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I just watched the second season of Cheer. The dwarves got a better
Right.
shot of throwing you.
Short and dense.
Nothing to climb up though. No like drain
Yeah,
pipe.
and you can give it an acrobatics check if you want, but the brickwork in here is not so shoddy that you really get a handhold.
Yeah, and if you didn't see any rain dripping in, we probably can't get in through the roof.
Is that one? Oh.
And then obviously there's a whole other building to check too.
Yeah.
Horses are not beasts, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Beasts can understand my speech, and I gain the ability to decipher their noises and motions.
Are there horses actually in there though?
Oh, good question.
You were unable to see.
Okay.
Right. So like if you're looking through the crack, right, the stables will be over here. You don't have line of sight because you got 8-inch timbers, but you just were able to see to the end of the building, and maybe a person walked across your line of sight, and then their shadow was cast by the candle that kind of gave you notion to it, right? And this building itself is 30 feet long, so that's why like you could just barely make out her humming through this, especially with the rain on the other side.
When we look over at the other building, are there any lights on?
There are
Do we
no
hear
lights in
anything?
the other building.
Can I look at the tunnel and see if I can identify any loose stones or any way to
Yeah,
access
so
the
you
tunnel?
go and you start like looking. You've got a bit of a shovel, but it's becoming more and more muddy as you're now spending more and more time out here. You guys are getting soaked, and like the ground is starting to get really, really soppy. And as you like pull it away, you see that it's pretty thick stonework, probably similar to the masonry of the building. And if you had to guess that it might be 1.5 feet in an arc of stone, and to where it connects down, like the whole manor seems to be built pretty well.
Does it look like there's been a path trodden between the buildings?
Not in some time, but as you're like looking around the grounds, you see that there have been a couple of footprints made fairly recently into the house, from the gate. Like literally, like somebody came in from the gate, and as you go like look at the gate again, somebody came in the gate and locked it. Probably not much before you guys got there, and then ran into the house. And there, it wasn't raining at the time, so there's not like really muddy footprints, but you saw like footprints that are now being kind of washed away as this starts to turn into a bit of a deluge.
Big footprints? Are they human foot? I mean, like
Humanoid
humanoid?
footprints, yeah, humanoid footprints.
Okay.
Average, not ton now.
Not
Especially
like a
as
child size.
No, not particularly.
No, lizard folk.
I'll go investigate the other building.
Yeah, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
I'll go too. I think we've exhausted our ability.
Is that how
Yeah,
your
with the
dwarf
big one.
talks? Or does he talk like this?
He's a little gruff. He talks
Yes.
like Gruff the Grime Dog.
So the house itself has a gated parapet that you can come through, and the door is currently closed, but you're able to like put your hand through it and just kind of flip the latch and open this gate. And this gate has just a gnarly screech to it, much like my garage. And it kind of comes in, and as you get under the first little part here, the rain is off of you, and there's these two giant double doors.
Knock?
Sure.
You knock, and you wait. And you wait long enough to realize that nobody's coming to the knock.
What if we yell, hello?
You yell, and you wait.
No,
And you
no.
wait long enough to realize no one's coming to the yell.
I'm gonna try the door. Is it open?
Yeah, so you press on the door, and the door opens up.
Wait, did you feel it was hot
Jeez.
first? Make sure.
Oh, good question. Is it hot?
It is not hot. Let me describe the interior that you walk into.
Perception? No, it's not.
One Unbi.
And said the doors are really tall. Are they like 15 feet tall?
So let's see here. A wrought iron gate with hinges on one side and rock on the other. Archway. Yeah, flanking a set of oaken doors that open into a grand foyer. So the doors, probably at their crest, are maybe 10 feet, but kind of like come down to 6 feet. Hanging on the south wall, bang, right here, of this foyer, is a shield with an emblazoned coat of arms. Of a windmill on a red field, and it is flanked by portraits of stony-faced aristocrats. All of these faces have been scratched out, so the paintings remain, and they have been like charcoaled or scratched out the faces, and red X's have been placed over the eyes.
Well, that's
Are
nefarious.
there nameplates under the portraits?
So that's been all scratched out. Give me a perception check, everybody.
My favorite thing.
7.
2.
10.
We're not particularly perceptive, this group.
Not in this room.
Yeah, you're really distracted by how morbid the faces are. Because first they scratched them out, and then they like drew in red X's.
Yeah, that's
And for like their
great.
face, like their faces are kind of frowny with X teeth and like red X's across
Like
the
somebody's
eyes.
yearbook.
Do I think that mending could correct some of the scratches from the nameplates?
Ooh, I like that idea.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'd love to see that.
yeah. So you spend a couple of seconds mending one of them, and
We've got an update for you.
oh, great.
That was such perfect timing. And you read the name Restart Now.
You on the first one it says Durst family, and then it seems to be names of other members of the Durst family. All of them share the last name Durst.
Does that name mean anything to you guys?
I don't know. Do I know that?
You can all give me a history check. If any of you get a 30,
What?
Oh, I got a nat 20. What a waste.
I'm 18.
Way to help me out, Die.
you know what? So you, because of you're collegiately educated, right?
Sure. Community
It
college
just
educated.
chimes in for you about this old war that happened in a land called Barovia. And one of the family names happened to be Durst, but there's no way. This was like 800 years
And
ago.
They're
and
like
it-
fairy tales. Like, it's not real.
Exactly. It was a battle for an area that's nowhere near the Sword Coast, right?
It's
Like
just-
you guys were literally walking in the Sword Coast, and this was way off in the Eastern Lands, and way too long ago. But it's weird because that was one of the families that fought with the invading army. Like they betrayed the people and sided with this invader, and yeah,
But also, it's a common name, so, it could be not related at all.
could be
It's possible. What does it smell like in here?
musty, very musty, and
You guys don't have asthma.
damp. The rain has kind of knocked down a lot of the stuff from the outside, but there is just a hint of maybe mildew or rot on the inside that you just quite can't place.
Any, what's the floor? Is it dusty? Do we see footprints?
There are footprints that look like they've led into the next room.
Okay. They look similar to the ones out from outside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Also, I feel weird about trespassing. I don't know about you guys.
Did we notice a windmill in anywhere in our travels?
You haven't seen a windmill yet, just the one on this shield.
I've never even seen a windmill in real life.
And that's where we'll stop for tonight.
All right.
Hopefully.